Even though the U.S. plans to accept about 100,000 Ukrainian refugees, the refugees cannot just say they want to come here. They must first get permission. The Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, requires a person who is legally already in the U.S. to serve as a sponsor. Sponsors can be U.S. citizens and legal residents, among others. There are basic expectations of sponsors. First, sponsors must pass U.S. government security and background checks. Second, they must demonstrate sufficient financial resources to receive, maintain, and support the Ukrainian or Ukrainians they commit to support. The sponsor is expected to make arrangements to meet the needs of the refugee. Such arrangements could include the cost of travel to the U.S. or housing. Once they earn enough, they should be able to live in their own place. They will need help with transportation to shopping and appointments. There is also a need for help applying for U.S. government benefits. They will also need help getting children registered for school. Sponsorship is expected to last up to 2 years after each refugee's arrival in the U.S. However, many will be independent before then. Since some of these expenses can be significant, sponsors can work with an organization such as a church to help meet some of these needs. To get U.S. government approval for each refugee to come to South Dakota, the sponsor is responsible to submit a Form I-134. To do this, the sponsor will need to set up a free account on the DHS website called Uniting for Ukraine and submit Form I-134 online. Form I-134 documents the ability of the sponsor and those supporting or co-sponsoring to support the refugee. DHS requires sponsors to name a specific refugee or refugees when they apply using Form I-134. On the form, the refugee is referred to as the beneficiary. It's important for the sponsor and the beneficiary to become acquainted and feel comfortable with going forward in the process. So how does a sponsor connect with a Ukrainian refugee? Some potential sponsors may have ways to make contact with Ukrainians through personal contacts. However, since many who are interested in sponsoring may not have personal contacts, there are other ways. The U.S. government has set up a website at ukraine.welcome.us to provide an online way to connect with Ukrainian refugees. Signing up for an account with welcome.us doesn't commit you to be a sponsor if you aren't sure. Also, Freedom's Haven is working on identifying refugees who are considering coming to our great state. Regardless of how a potential sponsor connects with a potential refugee, volunteers with Freedom's Haven are willing to work to facilitate a dialogue between both sides. This could mean finding answers to questions or arranging for translation help. The Ukraine.welcome.us website also provides resources to help you learn what is involved in a successful sponsorship. This includes short video trainings and guides about many topics related to sponsorship, and it's a good starting point to help you make an informed decision about sponsorship. Additional resources are Lutheran Social Services of South Dakota and the volunteers working with Freedom's Haven. Sponsors are not expected to shoulder all of the financial burden themselves. 3 sources of financial help are the U.S. government, supporting organizations, and the Freedom's Haven Fund. A supporting organization could be a church, service club, a committed group of friends or relatives, or other entity. Their role is to come alongside the sponsor, to share in the expenses and other tasks associated with getting the refugee resettled and able to live independently in a South Dakota community. For example, the costs of Ukrainian refugee travel from Europe to South Dakota and temporary housing are not covered by U.S. government programs. A supporting organization can greatly assist the sponsor by raising funds to help pay for the plane ticket. Help with housing might be donating temporary use of a vacant rental property, a mother-in-law apartment, or a guest room. Supporting organizations are critical in simply pitching in to help with various duties like giving rides to appointments or shopping, or helping them in getting oriented to their new community. When sponsors fill out the Form I-134 to apply to sponsor a refugee, they can include information about resources sponsor supporters will provide. This increases the likelihood that DHS will approve the application.